Hi guys, welcome to my next video. And my oh my, what a relatively boring video this is, unless of course you like something really technical. If you like something technical, this one's for you. If you don't like something technical and you're looking for a product review, well, this product's these batteries. We all love a good battery, don't we? We all want our batteries to last the longest possible. Or do we? You see, I've got a bit of a problem. You see, when it comes to a battery, batteries need to do one of two things. You either have a nice lightweight battery that is really nice and functional, it balances the tool out well, or you have a battery that lasts forever but it weighs a ton. Does it have to be like that? Which one's better? Which one gives you more bang for your money, if you like, bang for your buck? Which one's got the highest output? Is there any need for a high output? Is there any need for any of this, really? Well, I think there definitely is, because you have everything from a 2 amp hour battery right the way through to a thumping great big 6 amp hour battery. And prices really don't reflect what they actually do, I don't think. So I'm going to try and talk you through what's actually inside the batteries as well. We're going to take a look inside. Each one of these has been taken apart already, so you don't have to sit me there boring you with a screwdriver. It's going to be boring enough as it is, but we're going to get there eventually, right? So first of all, I'm going to start with my classic. This is a 2015 20 volt 1.3 amp hour battery. Now, I've already taken this apart and researched this, so less time for you guys. And the cells inside this, he says, looking over his little crib sheet, are Samsung INR 18650 13Q cells. They can be seen just there. Hopefully it auto adjusts with. These cells, Samsung cells, very, very decent. The maximum discharge current on those is 15 amps, which is quite a lot in all fairness. It equates to apparently 23.4 watt hours. There's 5 cells in total, and they're one parallel pack. It's also got a thermal cutout, which is that prong there does. You've got positive that side, negative that side. Happy days. This pack weighs 366 grams, and it can be charged up to 4 amps. Brilliant, fantastic. So that's contender number one, if you like. That's your bog standard. I don't know if you can actually get these cells anymore, but they are out there still on the second-hand market, if you are pleased to go there. Figure out where they actually go to get back in pack now. These are your bog standard, very basic. So we're going to compare this first off with its next, if you like, modern day rival. Get that back together. Where is it? On the left mic. So this is its modern day, if you like, equivalent. It's a 1.5 amp hour battery. It's also got a screw there. It's got a total of 27 watt hours. Equivalent, that's fine. It's got 5 cells inside. These are also Samsung cells, so they're the INR 18650 cells, but these are the 15M type cells, or the blue cells, as they're sometimes known. If you're into your vaping and 18650 batteries, laptop batteries, whatever you want to call them, they're known as the blues, the Samsung blue cells. If it's actually going to play a game and come out, of course it's not. But either way, these are the Samsung 1850s. You actually see just there, the 18650 Samsung cells. Interestingly, this pack weighs 367 grams. It's got a maximum discharge at the top actually of any battery here of 23 amp hour discharge according to the official charts. It's got an official current rating, actually capacity of 1450 milliamp hour. So a tiny bit sort of embellishes that, if you like. But you know, in all fairness, 1500 milliamp hour, 1.5 amp is an average figure. The guaranteed minimum is 1450 milliamps. Each cell weighs 45 grams. This pack weighs 367 grams, which is only 1 gram more than the 1.3 amp hour. So your weight, if you like, for your amount of power output is at its best. And this has also got a 4 amp hour maximum charge rating. They get a bit too hot if you charge them any faster. So yeah, that is a very, very decent figure as far as capacity output goes. It's an increase of 8 amps of maximum discharge capacity over the previous one. And then let's move to the classic 2 amp hour battery. I'm sure everyone's got loads of these. I know I have. They're very, very decent cells. I do find that if you've got something juicy like maybe the mower, it's a classic example, even the chainsaw as well, you do chew through these quite fast. They are fairly, average sort of, you run your mill pack. They do feature the Samsung 20R cell. If you've got a laptop, you've more than likely got a Samsung 20R cell in there. These are also extremely common, but they're also extremely decent quality cells. They are, if you like, the run-of-the-mill cell that if you want an 18650 and you want a quality cell, you go for the Samsung 20R. Other than that, the weight of these is, I'll go through the stats in the same order. It's got capacity of 2000 milliamp hour average. You've also got a maximum discharge of 22 amps, so it's 1 amp less than the 1.5 amp, but you do get 500 milliamp hours more, or 550 technically. Of course, they've got an average 2000 milliamp hour. You've got 45 grams per cell, so this pack weighs 375 grams. This actual pack itself technically weighs 370, and it's worth noting that the one that you can get with the light on the front, which indicates how much power it's got left in it. I don't think they do a 1.5 amp version with the light on the front, but this cell here weighs 5 grams more. So if weight and balance is your issue that you're looking for, 5 grams in it. And there's also worth noting that there's a total of, let me just quickly work it out, there's 9 grams between the 1.3 and the 2 amp hour with the lights on it. It's worth noting as well, is it 9 grams? It's 375, yes. Yeah, it's 9 grams is the difference between the two. If you go down as far as the battery, which does not have the light on it, I'm getting all my cells confused now. So that's this one here, I'll just rebuild it. That's actually only got it's a 4 gram difference. So yeah, not a lot at all for quite a bit more capacity and milliamps, runtime if you like, fuel in the tank, whatever you'd like to call it. Moving on to the big boys. And I say big boys plural because obviously we've got the 4 gram power. This is the baby version. It's worth noting this has got the same cells inside as the 2 amp hour battery. It's got the INR 18650 20R Samsung cells. So exactly the same that comes in the 2 amp hour packs. These have got a capacity rating again of 22 amps, 45 grams per cell. This pack weighs 553 grams. It does start to play havoc with balance, I will be honest. When you take into consideration things like the Worx 354, getting product numbers right. This is the slammer, the big slammer if you like. It does 60 newtons. I've reviewed this in a previous video. Go check it out because it beats the pants off a Milwaukee PH27X corded drill. Put a link in the description for you. Yeah, it does start to make it a very heavy piece. I mean, adding half a kilo to a drill that only weighs just over a kilo itself, you're adding like nearly 50% onto the weight. When you got things like the Worx Zen, beautiful like hedge cutlery sort of thing, you've got 3 interchangeable blades on it. Haven't done a review on this yet. I'm thinking about tying it in with a few other garden bits and pieces that I'm hopefully going to do soon, maybe this weekend if I get lucky. See what the wife's doing. Yeah, if you start whacking on a 4 or 6 amp hour battery on these, they get very, very tail heavy. And with the exact track, it's a bit of a double-edged blade, really. Ha ha ha, pun, blade, and it's lame, sorry. It adds more weight to give it more control, so it's less sort of more power behind it, if you like, more inertia, momentum. But when you're holding it and trying to get it on in the first place, it's starting to get really, really heavy. You're like touching nearly 2k, 2,000 grams total combined weight there. So yeah, it starts to get quite heavy tools. You're almost looking at sort of like corded weight territory there. That aside, it's not a bad sort of thing. The real big toss up is, let's be honest, these I think they run around about 60, 70 pounds, depending on where we're actually buying from. The 4 amp hour battery. So, do you go for two 2 amp hour batteries? These are about 35, 40 pounds they run out. Obviously, you can potentially get more, potentially get less. Or do you put your money where your mouth is and go get a 6 amp hour battery? Let's run through a few stats first to compare these two, because you'll be interested to know that the 4 amp hour battery is the same size as the 6 amp hour battery. You see, even I thought that when you get the 6 amp hour battery, I was expecting some Goliath, huge 1 kilo cell. It's not, it's only about 120 grams more than the 4 amp hour. Yeah, it packs 150% more of the energy, if you like, the milliamp hour, the runtime, the fuel in the cell. So the cells that are in here, 6,000 milliamp hour. There's 5 cells in total, and there's 2 packs of 5 cells to give you the runtime. Cells in question are these little babies. Now, come on. You just got to be very careful when you take these apart. There's a little slide in the front here that covers where the batteries light up. Just got to make sure you take that out first so you don't rip the wires off. And gently take it out. You'll see in the bottom here, you've got a bunch of numbers. I don't know whether you can see it. You might be able to. So what you got here is SEUS 18650, 18650. That means an 18mm diameter cell with a 65mm length. That's what the 18650 stands for. VTC6. Now, probably, unless you are very, very into your mod vaping and stuff like that, don't know what the letters VTC and the number 6 means. VTC6s are Sony's ultimate look at us cell. I believe they were released in 2016. They are very, very impressive cells. So you've got the same cell, if you like. Make sure I get everything muddled up. Of course, that'd be hilarious if I did. As the 4 amp one. So if you look at them side by side, they're the same. They weigh, well, it's 120 grams difference between the two. They look the same, slightly different coloured cells if you look at them. Even the front power board looks almost exactly the same, except these cells have got 3,000 milliamps each, and these cells have only got 2,000 milliamp hour each. These cells can, with a little bit of a caveat, they can produce 30 amp output, which is a little bit pointless because, as far as I know, no Worx tool requires 30 amps to run. It's a lot of watts. That's a lot. I can't even do the maths to figure it out. It's volts times amps, so 20 volts at 6 amps is like 127, I think, 127 watt hours. He says looking at it. 108 watt hours. There you go. Use maps, honest. Yeah, they're very, very, very powerful cells. But you can only draw 30 amps at 80 degrees with a thermal cutout. I don't think Worx allow their batteries to get that high. I think they have a thermal cutout at 60 amps, so you can never actually utilise the 30 amp facility. Standard discharge, which is on off, which, let's be honest, unless you are cutting the most humongous piece of wood or asking the most you could ever ask out of one of these, I don't know, you're using them in I don't know, the chainsaw cutting through a lump of oak maybe, that's really big, like really big, that's going to like take you like 15 minutes to try and chomp through. You're never going to get them up to 80 degrees C. You just wouldn't be able to do that. You'd finish chopping through whatever you're doing, you'd run out of material, your blade would go blunt, you would fatigue yourself. You might potentially, if you're drilling a really big hole and really asking something massive out of the slammer, you might be able to potentially get it up to 30 amp hour discharge and get the thermal cathode come through. I very much doubt it though. So yeah, you can also charge these if you get them hot enough. Ironic really, considering that I think the thermal cutout for charging on these is about 40 degrees. You can charge them up to 5 amps. That's the maximum discharge. A little bit concerning considering that Worx currently actually make a 6 amp charger. None of these batteries are actually capable of being charged at 6 amps, / it would damage them quite severely, reduce their potential lifetime cycle of cells. Could drastically if you charge them higher than their rated capacity, which for all other cells is 4 amps and these ones it's 5 amps. I'm assuming that we can have something in the pipeline that makes use of 6 amp hour chargers. Come in the form of lithium graphene cells if they ever actually come to fruition, but with COVID and stuff I think they're being put a bit behind schedule. Also whether or not Worx actually going to bring them out at all. So yeah, the be all and end all is realistically, do you want to pay the price for the weight? If you do want to pay the price for the weight, do you want to pay for it with the capacity, or do you just want a convenience, if you like, a capacity of having one single battery that's used on a duty cycle, if you like? Or do you want to have something which is just going to blow its whole lot all in one go and be able to handle it? Yeah, the choice really is yours. Me, myself personally, I like a bit of convenience. So for me, it's the 6 amp. I like the fact being that you just plug it in. If you're doing the mower, it'll mow my back garden, it'll mow my front garden. It will do that nice and easy, no problems. The 4 amp hour will do exactly the same, if I'm honest. Obviously you have to have 2 of them. It's worth noting as well, you can, it's potentially at your own risk if you like, you can mix and match your batteries. Though I'd really recommend that you don't, because you still only get the runtime of the minimum cell, however you may damage the smaller cell. Basically if you get a 4 amp hour and a 2 amp hour, you can only take 2 amps of the power. So this will be half discharge, this will be fully discharged. You never want to really fully discharge these cells because it again potentially can just damage them. By damage I mean that you won't get as many duty cycles out of them. You may last, for example, if you slow charge every single battery, you'll get the maximum potential life out of it. If you use them gently and don't use them for anything really heavy duty like cutting oak, etc., with a chainsaw, then you would get a lot longer life out of the batteries and then have to replace them less. That said, this is a 2015 cell. This still charges up and holds around about 1,250 milliamp hours even after 5 years of heavy use. I'm not being funny thing. I'm not really kidding when I say it's had heavy abuse use. This was a hand-me-down from my father. I replaced it with one of my more 2 amp hours for him, and yeah, I just wanted a 1.3 amp hour battery because it's nice and light. Also, I thought. Turns out it's no real lighter than a 2 amp hour battery, but I thought, you know, it'd be nice to have a nice lightweight tool when you want something that's a bit less fatigue in the garden. So yeah, there you go. That is batteries for you. It's worth noting, if you want to screenshot, pause the video, that is the crib sheet, if you like, of all the findings of all the various cells that are contained in which batteries. 2 amp hour and 4 amp hour share the same cells. The 1.5 and 1.3s are both Samsung, so is the 2 amp and the 4 amp, with the Sony being for the 6 amp. That's it, guys. Batteries for you. Oh, and also it's worth noting that, as everyone already knows, and I will say this anyway, this whole 20 volt thing is the charged state. Technically these The 6 amp hour battery actually runs at about 20.7, so technically it's 21 volt. We're using rounding up, of course. Yeah, 21 volts. Even like this still holds 20.4, I think 20.4, 20.5 volts. Even after about 3 days after charging it. I only use the slow charger on that one because, well, there's no reason why not. I just like slow charging batteries. If you've got the time to take slow charge, you get a longer life out of the battery. There you go, guys. That is batteries for you. The most boring video I'll make. I'll make something a lot more interesting next time, I promise.